Appreciate you bringing forward the idea for city water. But remember, yes, we know that the environmental issues are complex here, but we're trying to think of moving forward. Companies may have received a permit years ago, but what can we do moving forward to make these communities and this river a better environment, a better community for future generations?
$50 billion market cap. They pay more in dividends than you got in dividends. They do. So we got to drop this budget.
Yeah, we had a good jury verdict.
I understand that. So you're up against the monster also. I know. We're in the same boat. I'm not complaining at all. But when we sit here and look at this, this has been going on for 9 years now, just like the gentleman says. How long is it going to take? We can't wait for 9 years. We're just now trying to figure out what they do.
Right.
15 years from now, we're going to do this.
The Superfund process particularly is a very long and tedious process, and with respect to that, the site is moving along fairly quickly. And hopefully this year we will have an answer as to what is going to be done. But it's a very complex site with incredibly hazardous chemicals. You don't want to just go out there and just start digging it all up without a concrete and well thought out plan. You know, it's going to take time to come up with the best solution.
There are a few people, a handful of residents in this area that have been significantly harmed by this, whose lives have been significantly disrupted, and who actually cannot wait for a resolution. They won't live long enough for the government offices to go through the procedures it will take to resolve this. You know, it is a tragedy. I'm not blaming you, I'm not faulting you or the county. I appreciate everything you've done. I sincerely do. But there's an urgency here. And to abandon, we're a poor community. The people who live out here, especially live along the rivers, we're quiet, we're peaceful. We don't cause nobody any trouble. We just want to live a quiet, peaceful life on the river. We can't do that now. And now we're being told that it's going to be years and years and years before it's going to be a resolution. Then we'll go through more court procedures, there's going to be more resolutions. There is an urgency, a human urgency for a few people that live along these riverbanks. And they need to be taken care of. They can't wait. They can't afford to do it themselves. They can't wait for the government agencies.
Well, as long as people continue to elect people to office, like Greg Atkins, you're going to get this.
Absolutely.
You're going to get stall. And I'm sorry if you voted for the man. I didn't. That's what you're going to get. You're going to see more of it. You're going to see more of it.
He wants to keep the EPA out of Texas.
Exactly right.
He does.
Exactly right.
Y'all complained about this during our last meeting.
Yeah, you did. But I think you have some great ideas, or you have a great message and an important message. And I think maybe you should take that to the commissioners, and you can do that, and I can help you get signed up for the commissioners, because ultimately it's going to be the commissioners and our judge who decide this. And if the more they hear from us, this sense of urgency, myself, my mom, and another coalition member went a few weeks ago and spoke before them. And so it's important that we keep pushing forward and keep letting the people who have the authority know that, hey, we're here, and there is a sense of urgency. I think that would be
When you talk about bringing the funds back to the community, that's all great and well, but there are a handful of people in this community that have an urgency greater than the community. I appreciate all you know. I sincerely do, Ron.
Let me put this on it. Just to maintain the right to bring this lawsuit, this one lawsuit, we've had to fight now 2 sessions of the legislature to keep the authority of the county attorney and local government, like your county, to even maintain the ability to bring these lawsuits. And there's going to be another go at it this time to try to remove the authority of local governments to file environmental enforcement actions in the district courts. That's what we're up against. It's not just being up against international paper in the courthouse. It's not up against a lack of funds where we hired lawyers on a contingency fee basis so that we could so that we could afford to bring this litigation and not have to look at taking some government service away, or how are we going to balance that out? And that's another thing that's being challenged. So those things, that's what we're having to deal with. So it's a little bit more than just a fight on the front line of the courthouse. It's everywhere. I mean, it's everywhere you go. And we should see what happens. I mean, we're committed. I think Commissioner Mormon is committed to keep this going. Ms. Ryan's committed to keep this going. Commissioner Court is back in this community. Maybe we can't do it any faster, but we're trying. I mean, and I think you'll find that you're getting a good deal for your tax money. These people are supporting you. They're trying to do something for this community. Now, whether or not we'll be successful ultimately, I don't know. But we are trying to get the EPA to move faster, to get that stuff out of here. How we address the problems about people that are already ill in the community, I don't have a mechanism to do that. Personally, I don't. The county doesn't have a mechanism to do that I'm aware of. There are some individuals that have filed some lawsuits, and that's ongoing at the courthouse, and it remains to be seen what will happen with that. Some property owners, there's a fishermen's group that's involved, and I'm not intimately involved in that litigation, so I don't know other than where that is in the trial documents and how that's going. But it's not for lack of trying. Everybody might not be doing 100% hitting the lick every time, but it's not because people are not trying to do it.
Sarah.
Well, it's just a comment. I agree with the urgency, and that should be upmost in our minds as we go about doing this and recommending things. But we shouldn't say that it's going to be too late later on, because whenever anything is done and finalized, we're doing it for the future generations and the kids that are here. We may not reap it, but we can certainly get something done about it.
Right.
Now.
Yes.
I have a question for Mr. Owens. I haven't followed the litigation on the county side very closely, but I was just wondering if you could shed some light on what exactly is the county claiming that the violations are on behalf of International Paper and McGinnis and Waste Management? Because didn't the county, not the EPA, give them permission to dump that there in the 60s?
Well, that's a good question as to who did what and when. And that was all developed during the trial. The county did not give anybody a permit.
Okay.
The county did not give anybody permission.
Well, I know he mentioned that EPA did, but I don't.
The county did have a hand in reviewing the placement of that waste out there. There's no question about that. The county was involved in looking at the site, involved in reviewing the construction of the site. What the county didn't have anything to do with, though, is what happened at that site. You know, when the waste was put in the site, there wasn't a law in this country that says you couldn't do that. And the county looked at the site and said, that's fine. Go ahead and put your waste there. But what the county wasn't involved in is what happened for the next 40 years after that, after this site was abandoned. And now the question would be, well, did the county know it was out there? Why didn't they do something about it? The county didn't have an obligation to do anything about it at
And that
all.
kind of was a question that I had also, is that it's called an abandoned toxic waste site, which obviously there's not anything going on there now that the EPA hasn't done. But what if there weren't laws in place governing how and what and where they could put it at that time, and the county was allowing them to do that? What was their responsibility? What is the county claiming that their
Well,
responsibility
the
was?
county claims that they did at some point know that that was leaking into the Sands River. And if they didn't know, they should have known. And it was the property, and stayed the property, we believe, and I think the court found it was the property, at least there was a beneficial ownership that was maintained by McGinnis. And McGinnis had a contractual relationship with International Paper, and that created some duties. And those duties were, at least our position is that as time went on, and as the banks around us in towns broke down, they had a duty to do something other than just sit there. And the EPA, in finding that they were responsible parties, all of these companies, has made that determination as well. And these companies have actually entered into some agreements with the EPA saying that we're going to clean this stuff up. Now, technically, what law was violated? The text provisions of the Texas Water Code that say you cannot let hazardous waste go into the waters of the state of Texas. And the way the law is written, it says you cannot cause, suffer, allow, or permit. That's what the law says. And it's been our contention that that's what these companies did. They permitted this to happen. They knew it was going on. And as a result of that, they should clean it up, but they should also pay a civil penalty. It's just simple, like somebody was involved in...
So is that how the penalty was assessed, was
yes.
based on the amount of time that
Well,
with knowledge they allowed it to go on?
That's right. No penalty's been assessed. We settled with Waste Management. It's not, we didn't sit down and say, you know, there's X number of days and it's this much money per day. They made an offer that we thought we probably couldn't get from the jury, and the Commission's Court thought that was a good idea.
So the jury did not adjudicate that penalty?
No, they did not. As a matter of fact, the jury ruled against Harris County in its cause of action against International Paper. Waste Management Group settled during the trial before the case went to the jury, but right before it went to the trial. And International Paper, the jury came back 10-2, and we feel that we should get, we should appeal the case. We should either have it sent back to the judge with instructions to take specific action with regards to the case, or that we should have it in trial. And that's simply where we are right now. And I don't want to go into our strategy as to why we're doing it, or what we're planning, or why we're going this way or that way. But we don't feel the trial was fair. And there are at least 2 people on that jury that felt otherwise. And we think we can maybe persuade another jury differently. So we're going to give it a shot. We're not